The first mistake was putting the human in a cage where the predators could see him. The second mistake was assuming the cage was for his protection. I was there when Logan Pierce woke up in the center of Arena 9, under 300 feet of black steel, white lights, and hungry eyes. The Varkon Predator Academy did not have classrooms the way soft civilizations understood them. We had arenas. We had gravity pits. We had observation towers where instructors graded fear responses the way other schools graded math. Every cadet in that chamber had claws, fangs, venom sacs, armored plates, or at least some respectable evolutionary excuse for being dangerous. Then there was Logan. Human male. 5 feet 11 inches. 182 pounds. Brown hair cut short. Standard gray transfer uniform. No armor. No visible weapon. No tail. No crest. No horns. No natural plating. And only 2 eyes staring up at the betting screens like he had woken up at the wrong airport gate. Which, technically, he had. The Academy transport system had registered him as a dreadborn juvenile from Karuk 12, a species famous for eating pressure doors during adolescence. Nobody checked twice because nobody wanted to be the clerk who insulted a dreadborn. So they placed him exactly where every incoming predator belonged, in the entry cage, beneath the arena lights, surrounded by students who had spent their entire lives being told they were the sharpest things the galaxy had ever grown. At first, the silence was perfect. Then Vorik laughed. Vorik always laughed first. He was 7 feet tall, covered in black scale ridges, and ranked third in the freshman hunting cohort. His laugh rolled through the stands like gravel inside a metal drum. The others joined him in waves. Some clicked their jaws. Some stamped their feet. Someone shouted, "That is not a predator. That is campus food with shoes." Logan looked toward the voice. Not fast. Not nervous. Just looked. That bothered me more than it should have. Prey looked everywhere. Predators looked once. Instructor Garrick stood beside me on the command platform, his 4 yellow eyes narrowing at the file floating above his wrist display. "Human," he said, like the word tasted expired. "From Earth." That made the laughter worse. Everyone knew Earth by reputation, but mostly as a joke. A damp little rock full of emotional primates who invented warning labels for hot coffee and still touched the cup. They were supposed to be clever, social, annoyingly persistent, but not Academy material. Not Predator material. Not this Academy. Vorik leaned over the railing and tapped one talon against the transparent barrier of the cage. The sound echoed across the arena. "Hey, little transfer error," he called. "Blink twice if you need someone to call your nest mother." More laughter. Logan finally stood. Slowly. He brushed one sleeve flat, checked the torn edge of his transfer tag, then looked at the cage door as if evaluating cheap furniture. No panic. No begging. No dramatic speech. Just that calm human face, the kind that made arrogant species assume nothing was happening behind it. Garrick opened the arena channel. "Logan Pierce, due to administrative error, you have been placed in the Varkon Predator Academy entrance trial. You may request immediate removal. No shame will be recorded." Logan tilted his head. His voice came through the speakers, low and dry. "Is removal before or after orientation?" The laughter stumbled. Not stopped. Stumbled. "There is a difference, and I heard it." Garrick did too. The instructor's nostrils flared as he stepped closer to the console. "This is not a human learning center, Pierce. This is where apex combatants are tested." Logan looked around at the towering stands, the armored cadets, the locked arena gates, the huge scoreboard already counting wagers on how long he would last. Then he smiled a little. Not wide. Not friendly. Just enough to make something ancient in my spine sit up and pay attention. "Good," he said. "I was worried this was going to be boring." The smile should have been impossible. I had watched first-year predators face the entrance trial for 14 cycles, and the usual responses were predictable. Some roared to impress the crowd. Some paced to hide fear. Some slammed the barrier because their instincts needed something to challenge. Logan Pierce did none of that. He stood in the center of the cage, hands relaxed at his sides, like a man waiting for a delayed subway in Chicago. That was when the Academy system finally corrected itself. A red administrative warning flashed across every screen in Arena 9. Misclassification confirmed. Species identity updated. Human. Terran origin. Non-standard transfer. Temporary placement error. The word error appeared in letters 6 feet tall above Logan's head, and the arena lost its mind. Cadets howled, clicked, hissed, and slapped their armored hands against the railings. I saw two senior hunters bend over laughing so hard their breathing vents whistled. Vorik raised both arms like he had personally won the championship. "You hear that, Softskin?" he shouted. "You are not a student. You are paperwork with a pulse." Logan glanced up at the screen, then back at Vorik. "Paperwork usually wins," he said. "Ask any government office." The translator carried it perfectly. Half the arena did not understand the joke. The other half hated that he sounded relaxed enough to make one. Instructor Garrick did not laugh. He pulled up the deeper file, and I saw the details scroll across his wrist display. Logan Pierce, age 28, born in Colorado, former search and rescue specialist, wilderness survival certification, high-altitude training, cold weather training, civilian emergency response background. Nothing in the file looked like a predator profile. No sanctioned combat record. No species hunting rank. No academy bloodline sponsorship. No genetic weapons. No ancestral war caste. By our standards, he was not even properly intimidating. The system ranked him below maintenance drones and one category above cafeteria herbivores. That made the students laugh even harder. Garrick opened a private channel to registration, but the arena speakers caught the first part before he muted it. "You sent me a human." The clerk on the other end sounded like she had aged 10 years in one breath. Instructor, the automated intake marked him as compatible with extreme environment programs. "Compatible is not the same as predator qualified," Garrick growled. There was a pause. Then the clerk said, "Sir," the human signed the waiver. Every head in the arena turned back toward Logan. That detail landed strangely. Waivers mattered at Varcon. They meant the academy was no longer responsible for fear, failure, embarrassment, or medical inconvenience. Vorik leaned closer to the barrier, his black scales shining under the white arena lights. "You signed a predator waiver without reading it?" Logan looked honestly offended. "I read it. All 92 pages?" Garrick demanded. Logan shrugged. "I had a long flight." The laughter thinned again, not because it was less funny, but because confidence has a shape. Everyone in that arena began to notice his. He was not puffing himself up. He was not trying to dominate the room. He simply refused to shrink. That was worse. Predators understand challenges. They understand threats. They do not understand prey that declines to behave like prey. Vorik tapped the transparent barrier once more, slower this time. Behind him, the betting board shifted. Most wagers still gave Logan under 1 minute. A few changed to 2. I remember thinking those cadets were being generous. Then Logan walked to the cage door, studied the locking mechanism, and asked the most dangerous question any human had asked in that academy. "So when does the actual test start?" Garrick did not answer Logan immediately. He let the question hang over Arena 9 until even the ventilation fans seemed to lower their voices. Then he touched the command console, and the transparent cage door unlocked with a heavy mechanical click that traveled through the floor beneath my feet. Logan looked at the opening, then at the sand-colored combat circle beyond it. He did not step out yet. That was the first smart thing he did. At Varcon Predator Academy, stepping into the circle meant consent. Consent meant the trial owned you until an instructor ended it, the clock expired, or you proved too dangerous to continue. Garrick opened the arena channel again, and this time his voice was not amused. Entrance Trial Protocol 17. New candidate must survive direct engagement with 3 ranked cadets for 60 seconds. No outside weapons. No armor enhancement. No environmental assistance. If the candidate remains standing, breathing, and responsive when the timer ends, the candidate earns provisional academy status. If the candidate yields, the candidate is removed in disgrace. If the candidate cannot yield, the medics collect what is left of their pride. The crowd liked that line. They always did. Logan glanced toward the medical bay doors at the far end of the arena. 2 academy medics waited there with hover stretchers and the bored posture of professionals who expected this to be quick. Vorik vaulted over the railing first, landing inside the arena with a floor-shaking thud. 7 feet of black-scaled arrogance, all ridges and yellow eyes, rolling his shoulders as if warming up for a televised sports tryout. The second cadet dropped beside him with a sound like a steel cabinet falling downstairs. Her name was Sierra Venn, a lean blue-skinned striker from Talos Ridge, famous for moving so fast most students only noticed her after she had already taken their balance. The third was Brum, a wide, gray-armored brute from a heavy world clan, almost 8 feet tall and built like a pickup truck with bad intentions. Together, they were not a team. They were a lesson. The lesson was supposed to be simple. The galaxy had predators. Humans were not among them. Logan stepped out of the cage. No dramatic music played. No heroic lighting shifted onto him. He just walked forward in standard academy shoes that probably did not fit correctly, stopped at the white entry line, and rolled his neck once. Garrick narrowed, all 4 eyes. Candidate Pierce, last opportunity. Request extraction, and you leave unharmed. Logan looked at the 3 cadets waiting for him. Vorik showed his teeth. Sierra bounced lightly on the balls of her feet. Brum cracked his knuckles loud enough to make the front row cheer. Then Logan asked, "What happens if I win?" The arena went quiet so fast I heard someone in the upper seats drop a food tray. Garrick stared at him. Win? Logan nodded toward the 3 cadets. Yes. Against them. Does that count as passing, or do I need to fill out another form? I felt my throat plates tighten. There it was again. That dry little human confidence. Not loud. Not proud. Worse. Practical. Garrick's expression hardened. If you win, you remain. If you lose, you leave. Logan stepped over the white line. The arena timer lit above him in red. 60 seconds. Vorik crouched low, Sierra shifted left, Brum moved right. And for the first time since waking up in that cage, Logan changed. Not much. His shoulders lowered half an inch. His knees bent. His hands rose, open and relaxed, like he was catching a football in somebody's backyard. Vorik laughed one last time. Then the horn sounded. The horn did not sound like a school bell. It sounded like a warning system giving up. Vorik moved first, because of course he did. Every academy has one student who believes speed and volume are the same thing as skill, and Vorik had built an entire personality out of that mistake. He launched himself across the arena with his arms wide, talons spread, head low, trying to make the human flinch before contact. The crowd roared with him. Sierra vanished to Logan's left in a blue blur, circling for the blind angle. Brum came in from the right with the patience of falling concrete. 3 threats. 3 directions. 60 seconds on the clock. Logan did not run. That was the part that made my hands tighten around the railing. Running would have made sense. Panic would have made sense. Even a desperate charge would have been understandable, in the sad way small creatures sometimes choose confidence over survival. Logan simply shifted his weight onto the balls of his feet and watched them arrive. Vorik reached him in less than 2 seconds. The black-scaled cadet swept one arm toward Logan's chest, not aiming to injure him. Not yet. This was humiliation. A public knockdown. A message for every screen in the academy. The human stepped back exactly 6 inches. Not a foot. Not a dramatic dodge. 6 inches. Vorik's talons passed through empty air close enough to stir Logan's uniform collar, and the crowd made a sound I had never heard before. Not fear. Not shock. Confusion. Sierra struck from the side, low and quick, trying to hook Logan's ankle and put him on the floor. Logan lifted his foot just before she touched him, like he had stepped over a puddle on a sidewalk. Her momentum carried her past him, and she skidded 3 yards before catching herself. Brum tried to correct the embarrassment by closing the space with a shoulder rush. Logan turned his body sideways. Brum missed by a breath and thundered past, stopping just before the arena wall. 9 seconds had passed. The human had not thrown a single strike. The betting board stuttered. Wagers began to shift. Instructor Garrick's jaw tightened. He saw it before most of us did. Logan was not surviving by luck. He was measuring them. Vorik spun back, insulted now, his crest rising high. Stop dancing, he snapped. Logan glanced at the timer. 50 seconds. I am not dancing, he said. I am learning the rules. That answer did more damage to the room than any punch could have. Vorik roared and came again, faster, lower, trying to trap Logan against Sierra's angle. Brum moved to block the retreat. For one beautiful, terrible moment, the 3 cadets formed a perfect hunting triangle. Every predator species in the stands recognized it. No gap, no exit, no mercy. That was when Logan looked up at the gravity indicator above the arena gate. 1.0 standard. His expression changed, just slightly. Not fear. Disappointment. He turned his head toward Garrick on the command platform and raised his voice just enough for the speakers to catch it. Is this supposed to be full gravity? The crowd went silent. Garrick blinked. Vorik hesitated for half a second. Half a second is not long. On Earth, apparently, it is an invitation. Logan stepped inside Vorik's reach instead of away from it, placed one hand on the cadet's wrist, the other on his elbow, and moved like he had been waiting for the room to finally get interesting. Vorik expected resistance. That was reasonable. He outweighed Logan by at least 150 pounds, had the reach advantage, the confidence advantage, and the kind of academy training that made most first-year cadets dangerous before breakfast. What he did not expect was cooperation. Logan did not push against him. He guided him. One hand controlled the wrist, the other touched the elbow, and the human stepped in close enough that Vorik's own forward momentum became the strongest thing in the arena. For half a second, nothing looked dramatic. Then Vorik's feet left the ground. Not high, not cinematic. Just enough to make 7 feet of black-scaled pride realize the floor had stopped being a reliable friend. Logan turned his hips, lowered his center, and placed Vorik flat on the arena mat with a sound that silenced 300 predators at once. It was not brutal. It was worse than brutal. It was clean. A perfect, efficient correction, like a math teacher fixing a simple equation on a board. Vorik lay there blinking at the ceiling lights, more confused than hurt, which somehow made the moment even more humiliating. The timer read 44 seconds. Logan released his arm immediately and stepped back. "You overcommit your right side," he said, as if offering helpful feedback after a gym class drill. Nobody laughed. Sierra moved next, because embarrassment is contagious and warriors hate catching it. She came in low, faster than before, her blue frame cutting across the sand in a tight angle meant to force Logan to turn his back to Brum. It was a good plan. It would have worked on almost anyone in our academy. Logan did not turn his back. He pivoted on his heel, let Sierra pass the line she wanted, and touched her shoulder with 2 fingers as she crossed in front of him. Just 2 fingers. Enough to redirect. Not enough to look impressive. She stumbled 3 steps and caught herself near the boundary stripe, furious that he had made her speed look like poor steering. Brum used that moment to close in. The gray-armored cadet lowered his massive frame and reached for Logan with both hands, planning to lift him, carry him, and drop him outside the circle for an easy disqualification. That was allowed. Publicly embarrassing. Very popular with the crowd. Logan saw it coming, because of course he did. He took 1 step back, then 1 step forward, which made no sense until Brum's hands closed on empty space. The human had moved inside the reach again. Inside was where small creatures were supposed to be in danger. Logan seemed to have missed that lesson. He placed his palm against Brum's chest plate, hooked 1 foot behind the cadet's ankle, and shifted sideways. Brum did not fall hard. He sat down suddenly, heavily, with the stunned expression of someone who had lost an argument with gravity. The front row leaned back as dust rolled across the barrier. 38 seconds. 3 ranked cadets had attacked. 3 ranked cadets had been corrected. Logan adjusted his sleeves. He was breathing evenly. Not gasping. Not celebrating. Not even smiling now. That bothered Garrick more than the takedowns. I saw the instructor's claws curl against the command rail. The academy had prepared its students for rage, fear, aggression, desperation, and pain. It had not prepared them for a human treating predators like badly organized furniture. Vorik pushed himself up slowly, humiliation burning brighter than strategy in his eyes. Sierra circled again, but her steps were careful now. Brum rose with a low rumble, not injured, not defeated, but no longer amused. The crowd began to whisper. Betting numbers flickered red across the board. Logan looked at all 3 of them and finally gave a small nod, like he had finished the warm-up. That was when I understood the terrible part. He had not been fighting yet. He had been calibrating. The next 12 seconds changed the academy more than the previous 12 cycles. Vorik stopped performing. Sierra stopped showing off. Brum stopped trying to embarrass the human and started trying to solve him. That was when they became dangerous. Predators are loud when they are confident, but quiet when they are serious. The arena felt that shift immediately. The crowd settled into a low, nervous murmur. The betting board froze mid-update. Even the instructors along the upper rail leaned forward, because this was no longer a comedy. This was a pack adjustment. Vorik moved left instead of forward, cutting Logan away from the open side of the circle. Sierra mirrored him on the right, her feet barely touching the sand, her eyes fixed not on Logan's face, but on his hips. Smart. Hips tell the truth before shoulders lie. Brum stayed back, heavy and patient, guarding the only path that looked safe. They were building a box around him. Not a trap made of walls. A trap made of choices. Logan noticed. I saw it in the way his breathing changed. Slower. Deeper. Calm enough to irritate everyone watching. Vorik flexed his hands, then feinted high. Logan did not bite. Sierra twitched low. Logan did not move. Brum took one step forward, and the floor trembled just enough to send a ripple through the sand near Logan's shoes. Still nothing. That made Vorik angry again, and anger made him useful to the pack. He lunged, not to grab this time, but to force Logan backward. Sierra attacked the space Logan would need if he dodged. Brum advanced to close the final exit. It was textbook academy hunting. 3 angles, 1 target, 0 mercy. For the first time, Logan retreated. The crowd erupted. They thought fear had finally found him. They were wrong. He backed up exactly where they wanted him to go, step by step, until his heels nearly touched the boundary stripe. Vorik smiled. Sierra lowered her stance. Brum spread his arms wide. Logan glanced behind him at the line, then looked back at them. You 3 practice this a lot? He asked. Vorik growled. Every day? Logan nodded. That explains it. Sierra struck first. Vorik came a heartbeat after. Brum moved last, a wall with legs. Logan dropped low, not down in defeat, but underneath the angle they had built. Sierra passed over his shoulder by inches. Vorik's reach crossed into Brum's path. Brum tried to stop, but momentum is not polite, even to large people. Logan turned, placed one hand against the sand, and swept his leg through the space all 3 of them had accidentally agreed to share. Nobody flew. Nobody shattered. Nothing dramatic enough for a propaganda poster happened. They simply lost structure. Sierra stumbled into Vorik. Vorik crashed shoulder first into Brum's chest plate. Brum caught them both out of instinct, and for one ridiculous second, the 3 proud Predator cadets stood tangled together like airport luggage after a bad connection. Logan was already behind them. He tapped Vorik lightly between the shoulder ridges. Vorik spun. Too late. Logan stepped aside and guided his turn just enough that Vorik faced the wrong direction. Sierra tried to recover, but Logan was gone again, moving around. Her blind side with that small, efficient human footwork that looked too boring to be terrifying. Brum finally roared and reached for him. Logan ducked under the arm, placed a palm on Brum's back, and gave him the smallest shove. Brum stepped forward to catch balance. Straight across the boundary line. The disqualification buzzer screamed. The crowd went silent. Brum looked down at his own feet outside the circle as if they had betrayed the family. 30 seconds left. 1 cadet removed. 2 remaining. Logan returned to the center and raised his hands again, open and relaxed. Garrick whispered something I had never heard from him before. Careful. Careful was not a word Garrick wasted. He had built his reputation on turning fear into curriculum, and in 14 cycles I had seen him warn students about collapsing platforms, pressure traps, unstable gravity fields, and once a fire-breathing exchange cadet with poor emotional control. I had never heard him say it about a human standing alone in a freshman entrance trial. Vorik heard it too, and that made his pride crack in a new place. Being outplayed was bad. Being warned about the thing you were supposed to dominate was worse. Sierra circled Logan with smaller steps now, her blue eyes bright and furious, but not careless. She had learned. Vorik had learned. The problem was that Logan had been learning faster. The timer showed 28 seconds. The crowd had become so quiet that the arena microphones picked up the soft scrape of Logan's shoes across the sand. He turned his left shoulder toward Vorik, right hand low, weight balanced, chin tucked. It did not look like a Predator stance from any academy manual. It looked plain, human plain, the kind of plain that hides a knife in a kitchen drawer and calls it normal. Sierra tested him first with a quick step in, then out. Logan did not follow. Vorik feinted high with his right hand. Logan's eyes flicked to the hip, not the arm. I felt something cold crawl along my neck plates. He was not watching attacks. He was watching decisions before they became attacks. Sierra saw the same thing and switched tactics. She stopped trying to outrun him and tried to make him choose. She dashed toward his back angle while Vorik moved in from the front, both of them timing their steps with the countdown tone. 23 seconds. 22. 21. Logan waited until they committed, then finally showed us what restraint had been hiding. He moved faster than the cameras expected. Not impossible fast. That would have been easier to understand. This was worse because it was believable, efficient, economical. Every step took the shortest path. Every turn stole space. He slipped past Vorik's lead side, placed a hand lightly against the scaled cadet's shoulder, and redirected him into open ground. Before Vorik could reset, Logan had already pivoted towards Sierra. She struck low for his balance. Logan lifted his knee, turned his foot, and let her pass beneath the angle she thought she owned. Then he caught the back of her training harness and guided her forward, not harshly, not angrily, just firmly enough that her own speed carried her across the arena line. The buzzer screamed again. Sierra froze outside the circle, staring at her feet. Disqualified. 17 seconds left. One cadet remaining. Vorik stood alone with the entire academy, watching him become a final exam he had not studied for. His breathing changed. The big, theatrical snarl was gone. He looked at Logan the way hunters look at weather before a storm, trying to decide if pride is worth being foolish. Logan rolled one shoulder and stepped back to the center. Vorik said, "What are you?" Logan answered without raising his voice. "Search and rescue." That confused everyone except me, and even I only understood half a second later. Search and rescue meant climbing cliffs in snowstorms, carrying adults through floodwater, finding lost hikers above 10,000 feet when the air was thin and the ground wanted you gone. It meant Earth had trained him without calling it combat. Vorik charged one final time, less wild now, more focused, but Logan was already inside the rhythm. He caught the angle, turned with him, and sent him sliding to one knee inside the circle, balanced but beaten. The timer hit 0. The horn sounded. Logan Pierce was still standing. For 3 full seconds after the horn, nobody moved. That was the loudest silence I have ever heard. Vorik remained on one knee, staring at the sand as if it had personally betrayed him. Sierra stood beyond the boundary line, breathing hard through clenched teeth. Brum waited near the edge of the circle with his heavy arms folded, no longer angry, just deeply uncomfortable. Logan Pierce stood in the center of Arena 9, hands relaxed, uniform dusty, expression calm enough to be insulting. The scoreboard blinked twice before accepting reality. Trial complete. Candidate responsive. Candidate standing. Provisional pass. The words appeared above him in clean white letters, and the academy did not know what to do with them. A human had passed. Not by hiding. Not by luck. Not because the instructors lowered the standards out of pity. He had walked into a predator trial and turned 3 ranked cadets into a lesson on balance. Then Instructor Garrick stepped off the command platform. He did not use the stairs. He dropped straight down into the arena, landing with a heavy impact that sent a ring of dust outward across the sand. The crowd found its voice again, but quieter this time, like cheering too loudly might offend whatever had just happened. Garrick rose to his full height, almost 8 feet, armored shoulders broad under the black instructor mantle, for yellow eyes locked on Logan. The arena sensors recognized him immediately. Instructor intervention detected. Trial status under review. Logan looked up at the notification, then at Garrick. "I passed, right?" Garrick's voice came through the speakers without warmth. "You survived freshman testing. That proves unusual competence. It does not prove predator discipline." Logan brushed sand from one sleeve. "I am guessing there is a difference." "There is," Garrick said, "and you will learn it now." I felt the temperature in the observation rail drop, though the climate system had not changed. Instructor demonstrations were rare. Garrick had only entered the circle 5 times in my career, and every time, the entire academy remembered why he ran the program. He was not the biggest warrior at Varkon. He was not the fastest. That was the point. Garrick was what happened when instinct learned patience. He touched the side of his wrist console, and the arena shifted modes. The white boundary circle widened. The floor plates locked. The gravity indicator climbed from 1.0 standard to 1.3. Several cadets in the lower rows straightened with respect. Logan glanced at the display. His eyebrows lifted slightly. 1.3? Garrick mistook that for concern. "Most species lose timing under sudden gravity adjustment," he said. Logan rolled his shoulders once. "Back home, my uncle has a cabin driveway steeper than this." Nobody laughed. I think some of us wanted to. We were too busy noticing that his breathing still had not changed. Garrick advanced without theatrics. No roar. No warning leap. He simply crossed the distance with a speed that made his size feel unfair. Logan shifted to meet him, but this time the human gave ground. One step, then another. Garrick's hands moved in sharp, precise lines, not striking to harm, but testing every guard, every angle, every habit Logan had shown against the cadets. The difference was immediate. Garrick did not overcommit. He did not chase. He cut off Logan's exits before Logan reached them. The crowd leaned forward as the human was pushed toward the boundary for the first time. Vorik looked up, hope returning to his eyes. Logan's heel touched the white line. Garrick stopped inches away and lowered his voice. "You are clever, human. Clever prey still runs out of space." Logan looked down at the line, then back at the instructor. That small smile returned. "Then I should stop being prey." Logan moved before Garrick could decide whether the sentence was arrogance or warning. Not faster than the instructor. That would have been too simple. He moved differently. Until that moment, Logan had been reacting like a student inside someone else's lesson, accepting the shape of the arena, the pressure of the crowd, the rules painted on the floor. Then he stopped accepting them. His back foot slid along the white boundary line, not away from Garrick but around him, turning the edge of the circle into a road instead of a wall. Garrick adjusted instantly, cutting the angle with the precision that had made cadets fear him for years. Logan let him. That was the part none of us understood until it was already over. The human was not escaping pressure. He was collecting it. Garrick stepped in to close the final gap, one hand high, one hand low, perfectly balanced, impossible to read. Logan's eyes did not follow the hands. They dropped to the instructor's lead foot. 1 inch. That was all Garrick gave him. 1 inch of weight committed too early under 1.3 gravity. On most worlds, that meant nothing. On Earth, apparently, it meant the mountain had started to slide. Logan stepped inside, shoulder turned, palm placed flat against Garrick's chest armor, and changed direction at the exact moment the instructor tried to change his. The movement was quiet. No roar. No grand attack. No wild display for the stands. Just leverage, timing, and the terrible confidence of a man who had carried injured hikers through freezing rain because quitting was not a survival strategy where he came from. Garrick's balance broke. Not his body. His balance. And at Varcom Predator Academy, that was worse. The instructor dropped to one knee in the sand, one hand braced against the floor, for yellow eyes wide with something I had never seen in him before. Recognition. Logan stepped back immediately and raised his hands. Open, respectful, finished. The arena did not breathe. I do not mean that poetically. 300 Predator cadets, 6 instructors, 2 medics, and 1 terrified registration clerk on an open channel all forgot to make sound. The scoreboard searched for a category. It rejected human. It rejected non-predatory mammal. It rejected accidental transfer. Then the system flashed gold across every wall in Arena 9. Candidate status revised. Apex level Terran combatant. Provisional admission confirmed. Training restrictions updated. Instructor review required. Somewhere in the upper rows, a cadet whispered, "That cannot be right." Garrick heard him. So did Logan. The instructor slowly stood, dust falling from his black mantle, and for the first time since I had known him, he did not look angry after being challenged. He looked educated. He faced the arena, lifted one clawed hand, and silenced the room before panic could become noise. "The human stays," he said. No one argued. Vorik lowered his head. Sierra looked at Logan like he was a puzzle with teeth. Brum quietly stepped farther from the boundary line, which I respected more than anything he had done all day. Logan looked up at the gold letters still glowing above him, then back at Garrick. "So, orientation?" he asked. Garrick stared at him for a long moment. Then, slowly, dangerously, he smiled. "Orientation," he said, "begins tomorrow." That was how the Academy changed its oldest rule. Before Logan Pierce, the rule had been simple. Every new student was tested as prey until they proved they were predator. After Logan Pierce, the rule gained one extra line, written in 3 languages and repeated to every incoming class. If the candidate is human, do not assume which side of the hunt they are on. Because we had been wrong. Humans were not soft because they smiled. They smiled because on their world, fear was ordinary, gravity was honest, and survival had been teaching class long before the galaxy built schools.